Hey everybody, this is Surviving Darkness with Heather, Jenny, and special guest, Jesse.
Hello.
Jesse.
So they were nice enough to not talk about some of the things that Jesse has seen while I was gone. And so we're going to let him talk about some things this evening.
So where would you like to start, Jesse?
Where would you like me to start?
Just whatever you feel that you would want to share. Like, what was your first encounter?
Okay. Well, that one's pretty simple, but is there anything in specific you want to hear? Or do you think I should start there too?
No, I think that's good.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the first time I saw anything, I was probably 5, 6. And so my bedroom was the first one in a hallway. The next room would be a bathroom on the right. My bedroom was on the left right before it. So I was walking by my bedroom and Mom was in that bathroom right after. And I look into that bedroom and behind my bed is this cloaked figure with glowing red eyes. And it just looks at me and has like a menacing smile and then disappears. And I immediately go to Mom.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the first time I ever noticed it. And I'd seen it a little bit over the years, but that's the only time it actually let me sit and look at it.
So you'd seen it before that a little bit, just like kind of intermittently?
It's kind of one of those things where you're a kid and you see something and you're like, I didn't actually see that.
Okay.
Like, I was scared of the dark.
Uh-huh.
I'm not as bad anymore, but I still don't like the dark.
Right.
But I would just tell myself, meh, you just see something. But no, I actually got to sit and see it that time. And it like looked at me and had like a menacing smile and it has sharp teeth, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to put it. Like, it's not like generic sharp teeth, like jagged exactly.
Right.
But they don't look human.
Uh-huh.
It's almost kind of like dog teeth.
Yeah.
But
okay.
it's not long, pointy teeth.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, that's let out a smile.
You know, and with you, we've talked about this too, with you seeing what I had seen, or what, you know, we don't know, because obviously we're not like drawing pictures or anything like that. I didn't see the face.
Mm-hmm.
I just saw the back. Did yours have a hood, or was it just kind of like, what I say is mine was like a cape, but then it kind of just came up, you know, higher. It wasn't a hood.
Like Dracula?
Kind of like that. You know, it was kind of like that. So.
I don't know. I kind of was looking at the glowing eyes. Like, they were glowing.
Right, yes.
And we saw the glowing eyes a lot.
Yeah, I saw them at that.
I may not have seen a figure, but you could see the red glowing eyes.
Yeah.
So, and I know exactly what kind of eyes you're talking about.
And those almost like suck you in. Like, it's almost as if you keep looking at that, you're not getting away from it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Like, it's almost like the movie It, where you look at the lights and it sucks you in.
They're mesmerizing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if it had a hood or a high collar, but it looked like it had something. Like, it wasn't a traditional, just like, it wasn't like a robe or something. It was actually a cloak. But you couldn't see its hands coming out. It had longer sleeves, it looked like, but its arms were to its side. It was slender, but kind of masculine looking, like bulky to an extent.
Like muscular bulky?
Kind of, but no.
But
like,
not stocky. Like, not big.
Yeah. Kind of like right in between. Like, it kind of looks like a skinny person that had muscles. Like, it was like in between. It did. Yeah. Like, it wasn't a big bulky.
Right.
that would probably make it a little less scary, honestly.
And if I was going to say it, I would say, like, and like I said, I don't know though. It sounds like kind of, it's a lot similar. Mm-hmm. I would say, this is what I picture in my mind, is a man I'd say about 5'9", 5'10", probably weighing about 170 is about what I would say. Like, from what I saw from behind, you know? Yeah. And that's about what, you know.
I was a kid whenever I really saw it.
Right.
It was taller than me. That's about all I know.
Right.
I can't judge its height. But yeah, probably 150 to 180 pounds is what I would say. Like, I have a friend who's 130, 140, and it's bigger than him, but smaller than my other friend.
Mm-hmm.
You had slept in there a little bit, but we weren't there very long when you saw that and quit sleeping in that room.
Yes.
I know you slept in there for a little bit because you went in your brother's room and peed in his floor because it was the same steps.
I peed in the hallway.
Well, no, because at the other house, you came out of your room, you turned left, you took a few steps, and you went right. So there, you came out of that room, you turned left.
And then I would have to turn left
right.
again.
Yeah.
I just peed in the floor right by the bathroom, as far as I
No,
remember.
it was at Ryan. It was in Ryan's room or close to Ryan's room because we were like, he's thinking he's at the other house. So I know you slept in that room for a little while because it was close proximity to where the bathroom was in the other house.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you were little, so you had gotten used to going to the bathroom and you knew exactly which way to go and how many steps it was. So you took those too and just peed right in the floor.
What really made me stop sleeping in that room is I would go to sleep and my closet would be cracked because I needed the light.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd wake up and the door would be shut.
Yeah.
So that was just kind of weird. And
that
I don't know if y'all did that.
Had like the mirror doors that didn't like open like a regular door. They sort of like slid. Yeah.
They were on a track.
Right.
So
You'll really need to talk to the other people that lived in the house before you.
Good.
You do.
Oh, I know someone died in that room.
I think there was more going on before that happened there,
Way
right?
before that.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, so maybe you could talk to those family members about, because
they built it. I mean, there were people that were there before.
It doesn't
there were
mean
things that were going on before.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that. Well, now that you mention it, I'm starting to remember some of the stuff that I was told. That's weird. Mm-hmm. But anyway,
I never told anything like that.
That is weird.
Because she and I were friends and I would stay there.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But anyway, it doesn't necessarily have to be the house that they built that house. It could be the land. Mm-hmm. Something could be attached to the land.
That is true.
Yes.
Because the house that we lived in was torn down. But people who have lived in the double wides that were on that land have experienced things.
Yeah, because I spoke to one of them.
Yes. Yes. So it can be tied to land. It doesn't necessarily have to be tied to a house, or it can be tied to people, as I've experienced the past 30 some years.
So, like after that, I know that was your first experience, or like real experience where you could actually be like, okay, yes, this is definitely what I've seen. I know that there's no doubt, like no question that I've seen this. Mm-hmm. So after that, did you continue to see that same thing frequently, or did other things start presenting themselves to you?
Not really. It took a few years. That was almost like you have a right to be scared.
Okay.
Almost. Mm-hmm. And I was a kid. It kind of just worked.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It didn't need much
more than that.
No.
I was probably 8 or 9 before anything else started happening, and I would never like see things, but my brother was starting to be kind of rebellious and stuff because he was getting ready to be a teenager. Mm-hmm. And you know how that is. Me and him would fight all the time, but you would hear stuff too. Like we'd stop fighting and it would still sound like someone was throwing stuff around. And we would hear things on our back porch because we had a wraparound back deck, and you would hear things run across that all night. We'd have sleepovers and sleep in that giant family room, mm-hmm. and you would hear things run across that deck all night. It almost sounded like, and you'd try and look and see out the window and see something, but you never could. So around that time, a lot of that happened, and Ryan was listening to. We were raised like listening to Christian music and stuff. Right. Mom was really against all that. And that's whenever he was getting into like weirder music. and he would listen to.
Hey y'all, it's Surviving Darkness with Heather and Jenny. This is just a continuation of the previous podcast. I just want to give a heads up that this one was pretty intense, so it's just a little bit more emotional than the previous ones.
Yeah, you would always do the same thing.
So when you had sleepovers too, there were other people who witnessed the sounds too. It wasn't just you two.
Yeah. And then after Mom and Dad got divorced is whenever things got way worse almost. It's almost like she lost control and it lost control at the same time. Like I had one of my friends staying over that was a good friend at the time, and he was like, I just heard something talking in the other room. Is there someone else here? And I was like, not in that room. Because it was my old bedroom. And he was like, I don't know what they were saying, but they were whispering something. And I was like, no, Ryan's not home. And Mom was, I don't know if she was even home. I think she was out like with somebody that night. But if not, she would have been in her bedroom, which was further down that hall, and you wouldn't have heard it coming from that room. The door was open to that room.
Right.
You would know. And then probably around that same time, probably not the same night, but he stayed with me a lot during that time. We were in the kitchen and a knife turns on the counter. And I was like, what caused that? And he was like, I don't know. And I was like, leave us alone, like joking around. And it slid and like stuck in a wall. And I was just like, you missed. And I see another one turn. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Because that next one seemed like it wasn't gonna be a, hey, this one might hit you. I think the first one was like,
it probably would have.
Yeah.
Knowing like what we went through, you know, it probably would have, you know.
But that's not the only encounter of knives flying.
No.
Like we had our issues, but then we had stayed with our aunt and uncle, and I didn't want to stay that night. The whole family stayed. And there was something there, and I was scared. I did not want to stay there that night. And nothing had ever happened. It's when they lived like in a duplex, and our cousins lived on one side and they lived on the other. And that week after we had left, they said that they had issues with knives flying through the air and sticking in the wall.
I remember that now. And
they didn't know there was anything there. They had no activity. And it's almost like it knew that I sensed that it was there, so it started showing itself. But I felt it. I did not want to stay there. And we're down in the basement a lot. And I felt like something was watching us constantly. And Mom and him were like, well, we're just going to stay here tonight. And I was like, no, I just want to go home. But yeah, so that's like the second time that I've heard someone other than us say that they witnessed knives flying.
It's almost as if it's a way of saying, I could kill you.
Right.
Although,
waking up with a knife in the headboard above your head is a good indication that it's trying to let you know I could take you out even while you're sleeping.
I didn't have that, but like if I did, I don't remember that part at all, you know. But I remember
the bed that we had like it was the brown wood, and it was sort of rounded headboard, and then it had the two posts to it, and it would always be in like the post to the left of me.
I just remember, you know, moving my comforter and stuff back to get ready to go to bed, and there would be
hatchet
or knives in the bed.
Yeah, I would wake up with knives in the headboard right above my head.
So when you started seeing, I don't know how you want to put it, like the people or the things that you knew were people that had passed, you know, when, you know what I mean? Like how, I don't want to jokingly say you see dead people, but you know what I mean? Like there's things that you see that, you know, that, so how did that happen first?
I don't know that I'd say I see dead people necessarily. I can hear things, and some of them are familiar spirits.
Okay.
But normally if you call it out on that, it shows its true colors. And you can kind of hear it in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I had that dream about Mom's ex-husband, and that was like the first main time. But there was one time before that, while they were still married and he was still alive, and I had said something about it, and I was like, well, that's not right. And you could hear another voice cracking through. And I was still living there at the time, but I didn't think anything of it. I was like, oh, it's just weird. I was terrified of the dude, honestly.
Right.
He was making threats.
So he was
everything.
talking to you and you heard something else? Is that what you're saying?
In my sleep. Like
oh, okay. Got you. Okay.
Yeah, no. If I would have heard him doing something like that, I would have went and got her.
Yeah.
But in my sleep, I was just kind of like, okay, it's probably just one of those nightmares that you have all the time. But yeah, that's probably the only times that I like notice things like that.
So I guess what I'm saying is, like, you had said something about seeing somebody with like bandages on their legs and things like that.
That's
was
here. That was in this room.
And that's what I'm talking about. Like, how...
I don't know if that was a person or what it was. We were staying over here because the furnace over there had stopped working. And it was like winter. It was cold. So we stayed over here. And I was sleeping on, it might have been an air mattress or it might have been an actual mattress in here on the floor. And I remember waking up and this door was open, like wide open. And there were legs with bandages just standing there. And I was kind of like in a sleep paralysis stage where I couldn't move my body, but I could just see like fully bandaged legs as far as I could see up. And it was like right here. And when I woke up, the door was shut. And
oh, wow.
I don't know.
So when you would walk to the bus stop,
I was about that. Yes.
Yeah. What all did you see stuff then, or did you just hear stuff, or did you sense stuff?
I saw one thing continuously. It almost is like stereotypical Grim Reaper looking. It is a black figure with. It was kind of like a scythe, but not. I don't know how to put it. And it would stand in this singular oak tree that never had leaves on it, like almost year round. It would never have leaves on it. And it would just stand on this one branch every morning. And I kind of got in the habit of just being like, I was like, I got to get to school. It would never try and like talk or anything. It would just kind of be there.
Just let its presence be known.
And it wasn't every morning. I'd say at least once a week.
Am I remembering incorrectly when I thought you said sometimes on the way to or from school you would see like a little girl?
Not that I can recall, but there's a lot of things that I don't necessarily recall.
Remember.
It's almost as if there's like a memory block on some of those things. Like it's trauma and you put a memory block. That's just how it works.
Kind of like what we were talking about in the other episode.
That's
that you remember all the stuff that you've gone through and you know that there's been years of it, but at the same time you can't remember it all.
Yeah. And sometimes people say things and it'll trigger it. I don't know that I've ever seen a little girl. I've heard little girl.
Maybe like that's what it was. Kind of voice,
but it's like stereotypical demonic young girl voice that's kind of creepy. But I feel like that could have just been branched off of playing video games, because in video games a lot of scary stuff's like that.
Yeah.
Scary video games will end up causing those things to act like those and make you think you're insane. Like I would have nightmares about like hellhounds like from Call of Duty coming to the door, but these were completely different beings. Like it goes to an extent past that. These look nothing like the ones in the game. But I think that's what caused it. Playing games like that leads your brain to be like, oh yeah, that's something. And then they're like, oh, they're scared of that. Or that's something that might or might make you think you're a little crazy. But no, whenever I saw them, they were scratching at the front door where it was glass. And I saw like a metal chain come out of the ground and pull it back. And there was a black figure walking it down the road.
Was that the only time you saw them?
The dogs?
Yes.
No. But that's the main time. That's
when I got married the second time, you all really, really liked him.
Yes.
And then you said you saw something, a week or two after we got married, and then the personality changed.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened
I don't
that
remember.
you saw? You don't remember what you told me?
I remember telling you, but I don't remember what it is.
I didn't know what hellhounds were. I didn't.
Yes.
I did not play video games.
Most of the time, when I see them, they are chained to something, pulling.
You said that you saw a couple of those running towards the house, and they went like under the house, and then after that, his personality changed.
Yeah. I've seen them several times. I've seen them like pulling like bodies, like human bodies, down the road and stuff. It's not always at the same place. Sometimes it's like at cemeteries and stuff, like dragging them. So
I mean, I'm not going to make excuses because his behavior was ugly, but at the same time, it makes you sort of wonder, did something happen? Because there was such a change so quick. But it could have just been the fact that he was nice, thinking, you know, I had a nice house, I had money, I had all that. Then after we got married, the true person came out. So I don't know. But we do know that there was something evil.
Well, and that just makes me wonder if, as he watched that go under the house, and you had so many issues
In the basement?
Yeah, and it's always just been weird in the basement, if that's what it is down there, you know?
it's under the steps. There's
Could
a
have
little
always, yeah, could have always been those. Or just the evil.
And like the evil was there, and then that was just kind of coming in to join the evil, you
Right,
know?
cubby.
So
I think they're more so like an assistant thing. Like if they need that, then they'll call upon that. Almost.
okay.
I feel like they kind of have the ability to call upon their stronger powers the same as we do.
They do.
They do.
Mhm.
And they work together a whole lot better than
Oh, yeah.
Christians do.
Mm-hmm.
Just to be honest with you.
Because I've had times where I'll see something and ignore it and be like, "You're not scaring me," and then something else will show up,
Yeah.
and it's like, okay, now
Let me
else a little
up the
annoying.
ante. This is no longer working.
Yeah.
Type of thing. Yeah, because I remember you saying that, and I was like, you know, it wasn't long after that his whole personality changed, and even how he looked at me, it was like there was so much hate. And I would even ask him, I was like, why do you hate me so much? I don't hate you. I was like, your mouth is saying one thing, but your eyes are telling me something else.
But he, you know, I mean, maybe this evil knew him,
Yes.
how he was, and saw that vessel
You're right.
and saw it as an opening, you know, and was like,
And his past history, because he was a devil worshiper at one point, and he
Mhm.
said that he had got saved and like repented of all of that and totally turned his life around and was a pastor's assistant at the church that he was at. And I have sometimes felt guilty. I'm like, what if he was a good person and I brought him in to the evil that was in my house? But there had to be something evil in him, and it find an opening to be able to take over the way it did.
I
with him.
believe that, you know, good people can be possessed. You know what I mean? Absolutely. You know what I mean? But at the same time,
there has to be an opening.
yes.
It can't just come in.
Right. And I don't know what I'm trying to say. Like, knowing what he would know from both ends of the spectrum, you know what I mean? From being a devil worshiper to being a Christian, I would think he would know how to
Battle.
defend it.
Right.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Defend himself.
But he wouldn't see anything wrong. He
Yeah,
wouldn't see that there was
exactly.
anything evil. He could not and would not see any of that.
And this is the things we go back and forth with Dad.
Exactly.
So, you know, no, I don't think that you brought him in and allowed something to take over that. I think that he was already open to something that was there. And
Let me rephrase it. I feel like if he hadn't come into my life, would he have become as possessed?
yes, at some
Yes.
point, yes, he would have.
Probably quicker.
You think so?
Where did he end up after you guys?
I don't know, dead now.
That's what I'm saying.
But
He was no longer
associated with me.
And that was the ultimate. I mean, he overdosed.
Right.
He could have made any other choice.
Right, when he was no longer in the presence of the evil that had attached itself to me.
Yes.
I know.
I feel like I'm saying I'm evil.
Well, no, but our
Evil,
dealt with evil.
You're right.
He did have something attached to him. I don't know if it was in him and he was possessed or not, but he always had something around him.
That you could sense or you could see?
It wasn't there when he got there. I would have noticed it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I feel bad about.
I noticed it become abundant when he started drinking more.
Well, that's an open door that people don't realize. That's what we said about Dad. Things were worse when he was drinking because his senses and defenses and everything were down, and it was able to take over.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember me freaking out because you drank wine whenever y'all got married?
Yes.
One of those nights? That's because something was trying to get him as he was drinking, and I didn't want you drinking because you were my only safety from that. So I didn't want, I mean, you didn't drink enough to even get tipsy.
But he probably wanted you to do that because you don't normally do a lot of that.
No.
If he was possessed, you can't be possessed without making a trade. I know that. You can't. You have to want to be to an extent. You have to have something. They're not just going to take over without.
But the fact that he had made a deal with the devil prior
definitely could.
And
if an empty vessel.
Right, and if he would have just stayed in church and would have left the alcohol and all that stuff alone, it's a possibility he may have never been overcome.
Maybe it depends. I don't know what he traded.
True.
It could have been because his soul. He could have been bad the whole time.
He was very much into it, from what he said. He was very much into devil worshiping.
Mm-hmm.
If he's out sacrificing goats and stuff, I mean, you can try and turn
Satan doesn't forget.
Just to be honest with you, when he got crazy, I wouldn't have put nothing past him.
Once you sign the contract, you sign the contract.
It's just crazy to me that, the reason he married me was because I was an ordained minister, because I was in church. And that's what he would keep saying, that basically he could go to heaven on my salvation.
No.
Because he was married to me. We were one. So I had to pretty much live perfect because he was counting on me. And I could not get him to understand that my salvation had nothing to do with his actions.
But you know why? Because Satan was in his mind.
Right. Yeah.
And convincing him that was okay.
Right. I mean, he would call me all kinds of names, hypocrite, anything else he could think of, because I wasn't living how he thought I should, even though I was living the way I should. But anyway, it wasn't good enough because, I had to carry the load for both of us. I had to get us both into heaven.
I mean, there was something there. I think he was possessed. I can't guarantee it. I'd seen him with very large pupils, not completely black around the whole eye, but color was covered up.
Oh, I've seen the look. The pure evil look. I mean, his face wasn't distorted, but you could tell there was, almost like he could have that gnarl at me. Mm-hmm. I mean, I halfway expected when his mouth opened that it wasn't going to be his voice that came out.
That's why I slept with a knife under my pillow. Because I slept in that middle room, and he would have to walk through there to go to the bathroom or anything like that.
Right.
Everybody would.
Right.
And I would get that look sometimes. I'd just be sitting there on my phone.
And he hated you because of the bond that we had. Because I protected you because of all that you had seen. And you sensed things more than your brother did. You saw things more than your brother did. And I had to protect you from those evil things because I'm the person you came to. I was the one that was in church. I was the one that you counted on. And he hated that bond.
I think he was just a good play by the devil. And I know that sounds bad, but every dude that you talked to before you married him, I didn't like. Mm-hmm. I had nothing to do with them. I liked him, and then immediately after, something takes over him. I think where he wasn't in that and was in church for that time, I was like, oh yeah, he's clear on my radar. The second, boom, vessel full again.
Well,
So sometimes that's what I too. Kind of what I was getting ready to say was, you said maybe if I wouldn't have brought him into my life around the evil that had been in my life, maybe things would have been different for him. Maybe Satan brought him into your life to torture you and your kid and to break that bond like he did, with the three of you all. Things were just horrible between you all at that time because of this one person.
Yes.
And that's how Satan works. You know what I mean? And so therefore, he could have brought him into your lives, all three of y'all's lives, to just make it pure hell,
I just thank God it was just not even 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he did a lot of damage in the 2.5, a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
But I honestly don't think I would be alive if I didn't.
No, you would not
say you got to go.
Which is why we said, Mom and I said all the time, we're scared to death that we're going to get a phone call that you all have been killed.
Yeah,
because that's how crazy
evil
he was.
Crazy. Yeah.
And yes, after he moved out and y'all found some of the stuff in the garage and knew that he was probably doing things he shouldn't do in there. And, do I think he was doing drugs? Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And drugs will make you do crazy things too. But you have drugs and the combination of having
a demonic presence. Yeah.
Yes. That makes you paranoid to shine flashlights in the woods and everything at 3 o'clock in the morning.
The whole yard was a runway looking thing. He had lights everywhere. The whole backyard was lit up.
And to the point that the neighbor is like,
what is going on with this person?
Yes.
And then outside yelling at nobody. And I walk out there and I'm like, you've got to stop. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. They're going to call the cops on you. And then he comes in 5-10 minutes later and is like, there was somebody stuck in the mud. And as soon as you came out there, they got loose and took off running. They were stuck in the mud, and my coming outside and telling you to quit yelling got them loose from the mud. I mean, I just looked at him, I was like, that don't even make sense. Mm-hmm. That makes no sense at all. And then the time that he was in the garage and knowing how our brother committed suicide, he shoots the gun in the garage and will not answer me. He's got the door locked to the garage and will not answer me. So I'm thinking he's done killed himself.
Right.
And I'm freaking out and everything else. And do I call the cops? What do I do? I mean, he might be dead. He might not be dead.
Right.
And then when he finally answered me, that any love that I had for him, it was diminishing real quick with those kind of episodes.
Right.
The fact that you would want to torture me like that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was those things like that just evil.
Yeah.
Knowing how things happen with your brother, and you're going to choose that method to try to scare me.
Right.
We'll just wrap up this one for this week. We've gone over quite a bit of information in the whole podcast. So we'll be back with you next week to share some more of our story. Have a good week. Bye.